What's up, everybody? This is Trey Biddy with HawgSports.com, HawgSports.com. Well, we know that Sam Pitman is going to be retained as the Arkansas head coach heading into the 2024 football season. What does that mean for the Razorbacks? What has to happen next as far as NIL, coaching searches, player retention, all of those things? We're going to talk to Danny West. Arkansas just got a big commitment out of a former junior college player who was at Michigan State, but formerly the number one junior college offensive lineman in the country. A couple of visitors came in last weekend. There'll be visitors this weekend for the Missouri game. We're going to talk to Andrew Ellis, get his thoughts on everything, and we got to have Keith Grayson on because every time Keith Grayson is on, the Razorbacks win. All that and more on today's episode of Hog Sports Live. Hey, I want to mention to everybody before we get started that you can watch many ways. Obviously, if I can pull it up, you can tune into us on Facebook where we are streaming live today. You can also tune into us on, we're on YouTube. We were on Facebook streaming live, but we're testing it out on YouTube, seeing how it works out for us. But we also have streamed on Facebook Live. You can catch us there right after today. Give us a like or a thumbs up on both of those platforms. Subscribe to the YouTube page and set the notifications to all notifications so you're alerted anytime we upload new videos. Also available on Apple Podcasts. We'd love to have a 5-star review from you. We're also available on Spotify. Throw us a 5-star review there. Also, Google Podcasts, anywhere else you can think of to find your favorite podcast, we are there at Hog Sports. I also want to mention, because this is a big deal, it's our best offer ever. Hog Sports is 75% off for a limited time right now. Part of our Cyber Monday, Black Friday sale. We're getting an early jump on it. So today is Monday, November 20th. So we're a little early with the 75% off deal. But you can sign up right now and get the entire year at Hog Sports. It breaks down to just 7 cents a day, 52 cents a week, $2.24 a month, and billed at just $26.85 for the entire year. $26.85 for the entire year right now at HawgSports.com. Just go to HawgSports. You'll see the join stuff, and you'll see how to sign up there. Click on that, and you will get the deal. There's no promo code or anything required. This is the best deal we offer. It's 75% off for the entire year, $26.85 at HawgSports. So if you like what we do at HawgSports, you like the coverage that we bring, you've read some of our free articles and stuff, you like this show, you want to find out how to support us more, go to the website and sign up. That's the best thing that we have to offer. I mean, you might like the walk and talk. You might like this show. You might like the stuff I do on Drive Time, Curtis and Andrew, the Hog Hoops Live and stuff. The best content, the best place we have is HawgSports.com, the website, and, of course, the Razor's Edge Premium Forum that goes along with it. And it's going to be an exciting time because we've got a lot of stuff starting up, obviously, an offensive coordinator search. Not a head coaching search like a lot of people thought might happen. Hunter Yurachek certainly quelled all that. And, there's so much stuff with transfer portal. It opens on December 5th. You got the contact period opening up also coming up here soon. Just a lot going on, and not just for Arkansas going out and finding players, but keeping the players they have. We're going to talk about all that because there's certainly a lot. We talked to Sam Pitman today. This is the only time that we got a chance to talk to him, or we'll have had a chance to talk to him all week. Before we get into that, I want to first go over basketball because you got Curtis Wilkerson is in the air right now, headed to the Bahamas. Lucky Curtis. And Wednesday, you've got November 22nd against Stanford. That's at 6:30 p.m. from the Bahamas. That game is on ESPNU. And all my times are Central Time, so this is Central Standard Time, 6:30 p.m. You've got Thursday, November 23rd. The next day, they'll play Memphis or Michigan at either 4 or 6:30 p.m. Central Time. And then Friday's game will be to be determined. That's Friday, November 24th. That's a to be determined game. It's going to be going on the same time, obviously. Well, not the same time necessarily. We don't know what time, but the same day as Arkansas's game against Missouri. To wrap up the regular season, Missouri had a thriller against Florida. People talk like Arkansas has no chance against Missouri, and I don't know, maybe they don't. But, Arkansas as a team has fared better than they've shown here in recent weeks. And, Missouri, you're not supposed to compare scores, but that's what we do sometimes just because we can. But, Missouri had their hands full with Florida in their own backyard, and Arkansas beat Florida at Florida. So by the transitive property, Arkansas beat Missouri. All right. Arkansas 7.5 point underdogs going into this game, according to the Bet Saracen app. I'm not sure. I guess they don't come out with basketball betting lines until like the day before, so you'd have to check Bet Saracen later. to find out more information on that. We got a lot to get to in a short amount of time here. Arkansas injury report. So Rocket Sanders has a torn labrum. Obviously, that's going to require surgery. He's out and maybe out. That may be his Razorback career. Rashad DeBinion had a torn MCL, so not as severe as they thought originally, but he has had surgery. Today he had surgery. Jalen Braxton practiced on Sunday, still iffy, and Patrick Kudus also uncertain, but practiced on Sunday. So a little bit of good news, a little bit of bad news on the injury front. Obviously, wishing Rocket Sanders well, and of course Rashad DeBinion. Both those guys have a recovery time, not as severe as like an ACL recovery time or anything like that, but recovery time nonetheless. Hey, I want to tell you about my friends at Ozarks Go. If your internet sucks or you're dissatisfied with it, or you just have to unplug it and replug it all the time, I've never had to do that with Ozarks Go. Go check them out at 479-684-4900. Find out if they're available in your area. When you call that number, you're going to talk to somebody local, because Ozarks Go is a local company. You're not going to sacrifice anything going local. At least that's been my experience in the 2.5 years that I've used them. ozarksgo.net/Hawg. That's HAWG, if you want to find out if they're in your area. But generally Northwest Arkansas, and ever expanding in Northwest Arkansas, parts of Missouri, parts of Oklahoma. Trey Biddy stamp of approval for those guys. I've had 100% uptime with my internet, and that's the end. You can't ask for better than that. Go check them out, 479-684-4900. So what does retaining Sam Pittman mean for Arkansas football? I just started writing, guys, after this came. First of all, Sam Pittman played a fire-me schedule this year with road trips to consecutively to LSU, Texas A&M in Arlington, Ole Miss in Oxford, and Alabama in Tuscaloosa. However, that's not what got him in hot water. It was the home games. It was losing to BYU at home, the uninspired effort against Mississippi State, and then just getting pummeled by Auburn. Those are the games that, had Sam Pittman on previously the hot seat. So got to do better at home. Got one more chance to do it. But that was a rough schedule to be, just facing it on the outside, looking at it, as the season is about to begin. That was a rough one to get in year 4. I said this better not be about the money. And because if it's about the money, if Arkansas has NIL issues, they can't afford players at other schools like Missouri or Mississippi State or Ole Miss, other peers of theirs can afford. If they're getting beaten out by NIL money for recruits and transfers, then Arkansas needs to leave the SEC. If Arkansas can't afford to fire Sam Pittman because it's $16.57 million plus, whatever goes to the assistants for their buyouts and whatever costs to bring in a new coach, probably somewhere around $25 million just to change coaches. If they couldn't fire Pittman because of the money, then Arkansas needs to leave the SEC. That doesn't appear to be the case. The guy that I spoke to today seems really encouraged suddenly about their prospects for NIL. And what makes me wonder, and I tried to ask him, I didn't really get the question out the way I wanted to, but given the situation with, him being retained, is that a better solution for Arkansas to retain Pittman, and then the power brokers that would have, had to front some of this bill to get rid of him, have those guys shift that money to NIL, to hiring a big-time offensive coordinator? Maybe throwing so much money at an offensive coordinator that they can't be concerned about, the prospects for next year if things don't work out. Being able to retain this roster, is that a better solution than changing coaches to take a large sum of money and put it behind NIL to where it's not anymore? We couldn't afford it. What Sam Pittman said was like they did a good job with players that were looking for playing time and some NIL, and an opportunity versus guys that were just looking for NIL. And Arkansas has to get some of the guys that are just looking for NIL. It's going to be another wild transfer portal season, and it's not just those guys. There are, by my count, 18 seniors, at least according to the University of Arkansas roster. Pittman had a different number today, so I'm not sure where the discrepancy is, but Arkansas has got a lot of seniors who have the option to come back, and I'm going to talk about that in a little bit too. They also have, underclassmen and stuff and players that are going to be – if you don't think that there are players on this roster that haven't been contacted through tampering right now, then you don't know what you're talking about, because it's happening. And the NCAA has made it clear that they're not going to do anything about it. Just coaches will complain about it every once in a while. But Arkansas has to go out and buy some players, and let's call it like it is. Go out and buy them, because NIL collective stuff, that's not really what it is. They need to go out and buy these players. Okay, they need to go out and buy a coordinator. They need to keep their best players. I broke this down also. Like, if you look at the situation that Pittman's in this year and compare it to some other programs, really the only one that's really comparable is Will Muschamp. Will Muschamp survived year 4 with a 4-8 record, came back in year 5, got off to a bad start, like 2-5, and they fired him midseason. People say, Texas A&M, I got to quit saying so much. That's like everybody gives Pittman a hard time about saying things of that nature. I say all the time. Every time I go back and listen, I'm like, I didn't even realize I said It's like Danny saying dadgum. So I looking at, there I go again, looking at Texas A&M and their situation. People say that, well, they don't stand for it. They will pay $77.6 million to change coaches if he's not taking them where they need to be. They stood for it for a long time. 6 years they stood for it. And really, if you look at it, based on what they inherited, is his 9-1 season in 2020 not comparable to Pittman's 9-4 season in 2021, comparing, what they took over? What about his 8-4 season in 2021? Does that not compare to Pittman's 7-6 season in 2022? And then Fisher survived 5-7 in year 5 last year in 2022, just like Pittman is apparently surviving 4-7 currently in 2023 in year 4. There's a lot of parallels there. The bottom line for Pittman is it didn't happen this year, but if it doesn't improve next year, if they don't win next year, and he said as much today, then that'll be it. And, it'll be, there I go again, it'll be just a delay. And a lot of people would point to Hunter Yurachek too. Why did you delay this? So what I'm encouraged by is some of the things that Pittman said today about NIL and having the NIL money. And I talked to him just briefly after the press conference and said, I didn't really phrase that question the way I wanted, but it sounds like you're happy about the NIL situation you're in. And he said, you damn right. So that certainly sounds better. We'll see what happens. I don't think Arkansas fans are going to go into this offseason without some toxicity. A win over Missouri would be big. Now, Missouri has things going. They're rolling. Eli Drinkwitz, for all the stuff, all the crap I talked about Eli Drinkwitz at the beginning of the year, I was wrong on a lot of it. Not all of it. But as far as his abilities to motivate a team and be a football coach, yeah, wrong. Me, dead wrong. One of many things I was wrong about, and I'll freely admit that. Because he has them rolling. I think that once they hit that kick against Kansas State, when Kansas State was 15th, they hit the 62-yarder with Mevis, the thicker kicker. I think that really propelled them, because right before that, they barely beat Middle Tennessee State the week before, and then they come back against Kansas State and they win the game. I feel like that started the momentum going for them, and they've had a special season. What else needs to happen? Pittman needs to get better at being an in-game coach. He needs to be better at utilizing timeouts, not calling a timeout just a punt. You go up, you run a hard count, and you either run a play that you have predetermined or you just let the clock run out and you take a 5-yard penalty and you punt. Those kinds of things. I point to the Florida game where they're driving. They're in Florida territory, in field goal range. There's 1:46 left on the clock. Arkansas snaps the ball on first down with 3 timeouts remaining, with 26 seconds remaining on the clock. Why? You're already in field goal range. Why do that there? You have all 3 timeouts. If you get in a pickle with the time, you still have your 3 timeouts later. I just didn't understand that. And then there's 44 seconds left on the clock when Florida gets the ball back, and 36 seconds or something like that later, they're in field goal territory. So what would have happened if Arkansas took those 26 seconds off? That probably would have been closer to like 18 seconds with the ball. Probably would have taken a knee and just headed into overtime. Now, Arkansas won the game, so it's masked a little bit. But that's something that has to improve with Pittman. Arkansas's got to get the offensive line figured out. They have 42 sacks surrendered this year with a mobile quarterback. That's just ridiculous. And we can point – people will say, how come you always talk about the offensive line? You never talk about K.J. Jefferson holding the ball too long. Sure, he's held the ball too long sometimes. But you and I know that there are – they'll bring 5 guys, just one blitzer, and he'll come clean straight through the middle of the offensive line. There are edge rushers that just come direct, beeline to K.J. Jefferson untouched. And that has happened way more than KJ holding the ball too long. Way more. That's a bigger problem for Arkansas is this offensive line. They've got to get it shored up. They've got to do it through NIL. They've got to keep the guys that they have currently on the roster, and they've got to bring in guys that can compete with them and beat them out. And all that's going to cost money. Bottom line. He did seem excited about the NIL stuff. So I don't know if that's maybe has something to do with it. Hey, is it a better idea to just keep Pitman, keep the staff, don't spend $25 million just to change coaches, and let's put that money behind NIL and let's buy us a football team? Is KJ Jefferson coming back? Broke a lot of passing records. Broke 2 of them Saturday. I mean, he's Arkansas's most prolific career passer, which is incredible for him. Hasn't had that great of a season. Will he come back? He's got the option to. He has the option to come back. All right, do I want to go to that right now? I want to talk about the seniors who can come back. I don't know if I... Let's see. All right, I'm going to have to find it. I thought I had it outlined here. I just wrote the story. That's why the show's a little bit late. We had a lot of stuff to write. Curtis is in the air. We're a little shorthanded. So I thought this was really interesting because, again, by my count, there are 18 seniors on this roster. And Arkansas needs a lot of those guys to come back. So senior day is Saturday, so a lot of these guys are going to be walking. And some of them aren't. So here's the guys that have no eligibility left and are walking. Ladarius Bishop, John Morgan, Antonio Greer, Cade Fortin, Nathan Bax, Zach Williams. This is according to the University of Arkansas football roster. Those players have no eligibility left. They're walking. Brooks Both, who's a walk-on, and Tyler Larco, who is a walk-on, both of those guys are walking, even though they're just redshirt juniors. But they're walking. Trajan Jeffcoat, and Alfahim Walcott are not walking, even though they have no eligibility remaining. They may have done it at their previous institutions or something like that. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's why they're not walking. But they've only been here 1 year, but no eligibility left and not walking. The players who do have eligibility left in the form of a bonus year, I'm talking guys that are listed as seniors but still have bonus years left. The guys who have eligibility left and are walking, this doesn't mean they're not returning. It just means they're walking. Tyrone Broden, Torian Carter, Malik Chavis, Hudson Clark, KJ Jefferson, Brady Latham, Bo Limmer, Dwight McLaughlin, Marcus Miller, and Courtney Snelling, who's a walk-on. Not a lot of senior walk-ons generally. Eligibility left and not walking. These are the players who, when I see this, I'm just like, okay, well, these guys have eligibility remaining and they're not walking? First of all, the guys that stand out are players that have been here for a long time, because there may be guys that walked at their previous school. But Eric Gregory has been at Arkansas since the beginning, and he's not walking. That, to me, looks like maybe he's returning. Jashad Stewart, eligibility remaining, started at the beginning at Arkansas, not walking. And Tykeist Crawford has been here multiple years and is not walking. I think those three are pretty notable. Other players who are not walking and have eligibility left are Keon Stewart, Anthony Booker, Tank Booker, Keevy Rose. Defensive line not looking bad, especially the interior right now if those guys are really coming back. Francis Sherman and Isaac Tesla, all not walking with eligibility left. Maybe that provides a little bit of a glimmer into players who at some point will announce that they are returning to Arkansas. Doesn't mean anything for sure, but it means a little, something to look at. All right. We got to go to Danny, and I'm running behind. Arkansas got a commitment. For those of you who don't follow Danny West, you should. You can follow him at Danny West 24/7. And if you're going to sign up for 75% off, which why wouldn't you? Where are you, Danny? Why wouldn't you? Then you're going to have access to Danny's content, which Danny does almost all the recruiting stuff for HawgSports. Most of his stuff is VIP. Follow him at Danny West 24/7. Danny, how you doing, man?
My man, I'm doing great. It's Thanksgiving week. I want to give a happy Thanksgiving to all the Hog fans and all of our people on the Razor's Edge. I'm doing great, though. How are you?
I'm doing good, and that's certainly nice of you. Thank you to everybody. We certainly have a lot to be thankful for doing this job and the people that allow us to do this job, and for others who might want to allow us to do the job by signing up for 75% off. Danny, Keyshawn Blackstock commits to Arkansas, the first of what I would think we would hope would be many offensive linemen that decide to cast their lot with the Razorbacks. Tell us a little bit about this guy.
Sure. Yeah, you would think so. You would hope so. Former number one interior lineman in the junior college ranks last year. Now, Arkansas sees him as a tackle. So did Michigan State, where he spent basically the last year. And just didn't go well for him. But, I did a little research on it, Trey. And Michigan State, in spite of all their troubles, they had a pretty good left tackle up there. Mm-hmm. Forget the young man's name. I've got it written somewhere here. But Brandon Baldwin. He actually started 9 games for him last year in 2022. Started hitting his stride evidently this past spring and really took off and grabbed that job. So, young man got beat out. Keyshawn got beat out straight up. So nothing wrong with that. Doesn't mean he's a terrible player. It means somebody was better at the time, right? So We'll see what he's got. But, being a second team left tackle in the Big Ten is certainly nothing to be upset about. So he's got 2 years left. I think he felt like it was a great fit at Arkansas. He called Pitt the O-line guru. So, he gets to be in the SEC. I think that was important to him. And then being 2 hours from Coffeyville, where he became the number one interior lineman, evidently he's still close with coaches there, as is Coach Pitman. So it just kind of worked out for him. And then, of course, he's got a couple of guys that he's familiar with already at Arkansas. Amari Wiggins, who I guess, he should be in line for at least a shot to push a starting job next year, right along beside Keyshawn. And then, of course, Owen Lawson, the punter there. So he came from Coffeyville as well. So, it's I can't sit here and tell you they just snapped their fingers and got a guy and everything's fine now. It's going to take a lot more, as you know. But I think it's a good first step. They needed a little morale boost. Got a win on Saturday. I mean, I'm sure that made people feel a little better. And then to start the week off by getting a guy who initially planned on taking this thing up to around Christmas, I mean, it's pretty telling there. Beat out some really good schools for him. Ole Miss already had him on campus prior to Arkansas's visit last week. I think Louisville was in there. Penn State was up there for him. So some pretty good competition that you beat there. Of course, time will tell exactly what they got in this guy, but it seems like a solid pickup and a good start.
6'5", 315. He was the number 7 overall junior college prospect in the country, according to 24/7 Sports JUCO. The composite actually had him number 6. Both had him number 1 interior offensive lineman. So according to that, he was thought of very highly. His transfer portal ranking, which obviously is going to change dramatically after December 5th with a lot of guys entering, is 88. He's the number 3 overall transfer, number 1 interior offensive lineman in the transfer portal right now. Danny, Arkansas had a couple more visitors from the JUCO ranks in town for this past weekend also.
Sure did. We'll start with Jaquan Bolden. He's a 6'7", 350-pound tackle down at Mississippi Gulf Coast. As you've seen over the last couple of weeks, I think I told you guys on earlier over the weekend that I was sitting there looking at 20-some new names in the junior college ranks, and he's certainly one of them. Recently offered by Arkansas, got 2 years remaining as well. Still considering Purdue, Mississippi State, and Auburn, along with Arkansas. Sounds like he had a really good visit in Fayetteville, but you've got your hands full there with competition. This is a guy who's originally from Canton, Mississippi, which is, I think, about an hour 40 from Starkville there. On the other hand, we've seen some coaching transition at Mississippi State, so who knows by December 8th, once that scheduled visit rolls around, who knows if that's even going to happen for the guy, Do they go out and get John Summerall from Troy, Willie Fritz from Tulane, and do those coaches have the same priority list on the offensive line? So a lot of unanswered questions there, but I would tend to believe Mississippi State, if the new coach wants him, probably going to be your biggest competition there. And then at tight end, kind of an interesting position for me. I've said since, I want to say the spring, Trey, that I felt like this is probably a year you could get by without one, given the current situation at Arkansas. I think they went into the season with 6 on scholarship. I guess big man Pax is going to come off without any eligibility remaining. But, you look at that group, what's not to like about Luke Has when he's healthy and Ty Washington when he's healthy. And then, of course, I guess Gums would be back. We'll see. Shamar Easter kind of waiting in the wings there. So that's a pretty good group. But you bring in Gregory Genros, a tight end at Dodge City Community College, 6'6", 230, number 1 tight end in the country for junior college, originally from Bronx, New York. So that's, he probably thinks I sound a little funny, but that's a long way from home. But Mississippi State, again, right there for him. And again, you think about the coaching situation there. So a lot of, I guess, Woo Pig and Hale State crossover in the final stretch here. But he's got some really good offers and sounded like he had a good visit. It stuck out to me that this guy said, I want to come in and play. So, you want everybody to say that, especially a junior college guy. But as we just talked about, man, that's a pretty good young group they've got on campus. So we'll see. But, man, if you could add a guy like that to go with Ty Washington and Luke Has, boy, I think that's really something now.
Danny West joining us. You can follow him at Danny West 24/7 on Twitter. He's the HawgSports recruiting analyst. Most of his content is VIP, so sign up at 75% off right now at HawgSports.com and get all of his content. Danny, 60 seconds. What's happening this weekend? Is there any visitors coming up?
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me at all if this junior college trend continues. Of course, the trend has been over the last couple of weeks. You don't really confirm those until late in the week, but yeah, it wouldn't shock me at all. They've kind of gotten a head start on it a little bit, and I think that's the right way to go about it. And you heard Pitt talk about it today. I'm sure you've already talked about it at length, but the NIL situation seems to be improving a week after we talked about it pretty thoroughly on here. So, the next few weeks ought to be fun.
Only one junior college player on the roster, I believe, in Amari Wiggins. I think that's it,
right?
Isn't it? Yeah, I believe so. So times have certainly changed with the transfer portal. All right, Danny, appreciate you, brother.
You got it, man.
Have a happy Thanksgiving. All right.
You too.
All right, everybody, that's Danny West. Again, follow him at Danny West 24/7, Hog Sports recruiting analyst. We're going to go to Andrew Ellis now, get Andrew's reaction on everything that's going on. You can follow Andrew at Andrew Ellis 24/7. He also puts out a lot of VIP content and really covers the breadth of Arkansas sports, the money sports anyway, football, basketball, and baseball. Andrew, my man, how's it going?
It's going great. We got just this beautiful weather outside, as everyone can see. I'm just hanging out. Trey, how's it going?
It's going well. I guess Curtis is about to land in the Bahamas, so
yeah, he's doing a lot better than us for sure.
Yeah, certainly is. Andrew, I wanted to get your take on the situation with Sam Pittman and him being retained by Hunter Yurachek and the timing of it all. And also, I thought his comments were interesting on kind of a change in behavior with his discussion of NIL opportunities.
Yeah, it's very interesting. If you go back to 5 days ago in Sam Pittman's press conference, he said a lot of things, and a lot of those things involved those two topics. He talked about the NIL and was kind of like, hey, the money's there, but I don't feel like we've been able to truly compete in that realm, and kind of dropped some hints that he was, that this was something that they were talking about. And, obviously, and he also talked about the negative impact of the uncertainty of his job status. So by the time that it got announced, it was not a surprising announcement, but I think, I think we all had our opinions of how this was going to play out or what was going to happen. I definitely thought it was going to drag out longer, but now that it's happened in hindsight, I think I can look back and think if you're going to keep Sam Pitman, it probably makes sense to put something out and have some sort of clarity. And I think that's what that was kind of Sam's point last week in his press conference. But it doesn't take a genius to figure out there was something that happened between Wednesday and Monday that, led to that announcement, and maybe Sam Pittman's feelings changing a little bit. They get a transfer commit as he's at this press conference saying all this stuff. I thought it was beautiful. His Twitter account's up again. It feels like the whole PR launch is a go now. And so it's like, I think, whether you wanted that to happen or you thought it was going to happen, I think anyone would agree that if they were going to bring Sam Pittman back in 2024, which obviously is happening, you kind of had to publicly start saying one thing or another. And I think that's what Yurachek did, and that's kind of what happened.
I thought it was interesting how he talked about having more NIL money and then kind of stopped short and said didn't want to really talk about it. What was your take on that when he said it?
Yeah, he, does anyone do that more than Sam Pitman, where they kind of start saying something and they're like, maybe I don't want to talk about this publicly. I mean, you could see it in his face the entire press conference. It was kind of, but I thought there was a very obvious reason that he said what he said last week about how he felt like they kind of needed to step up in that regard, and he didn't like the negative perception around his uncertainty. And I think that there was a very strategic reason as to why he wanted to, mention that today, that he feels a little bit better about the situation. I'm not saying he's like, that's the case to buy in for the fan base and everything, but he was asked about stuff like that of, hey, what do you tell your fans? And this was the stuff he talked about. And so I think it all makes sense. And I think that, look, like I said, whether you agree with this direction and you think this is the right thing to do, I'm sure everyone has their opinion that they love to tell everyone. If you're not behind this, whatever, I think that, Sam Pittman's press conference today I don't know if it makes you feel better, but at the very least you can agree that, like, this is the plan. They've made it clear, like, this is the pitch they're going with. Mm-hmm. And, you're either in or out, and that is what it is. I think he honestly handled it well in terms of what he said versus what he didn't say at the press conference today, honestly.
I think you're right. And, I think that it kind of stops there, because there's been, like, people that talk about not going to the games and showing with their pocketbooks and all that kind of stuff. I mean, this last game, at least against Missouri, there's no reason really, unless you're too stuffed with turkey, to not go if you got a ticket for the game. You got Missouri fans talking about doing a stripe out in Arkansas Stadium because people aren't going to show up and stuff. That just can't happen. Arkansas needs to finish strong. I say if they can beat Missouri, which it's a long shot, obviously. They're 7.5-point underdogs in their own backyard. But if they can beat Missouri at home and they do have the NIL money and they can hire a big offense coordinator, maybe they can avoid what otherwise would be some toxicity, I think. Wouldn't you agree with that?
I agree 100%. And I think that, like, there's going to be questions asked, and there's going to be a good amount of people who have their questions and voice their concerns throughout the offseason regardless. And that's kind of the case anyway. So you're going to have a little bit of that talk regardless, with Sam Pittman returning. But I definitely think that playing well in this Missouri game, and, this game holds so much weight because if they do have another stinker and they lay an egg like they did in the Auburn game, that really ramps up that toxicity. And so I think this game, it's not like they have to win it, but I think if they just show up and play pretty well, and it's not one of those performances where they roll over and quit like we have seen plenty of Arkansas teams do in the past, I think this game is going to be huge in terms of just, like, whatever, because like I said, they're trying to pitch the fan base on the idea of why you should buy into them for 2024. And so this is as good a starting point as you're going to get. It's senior day, your last time in front of your home crowd, and it's a quote unquote rivalry game. So, I mean, I think this is I feel like we've said this 20 times on this show, like, hey, it's put up or shut up. Like, this week, show up and perform, and we'll see what they do. And it's been mixed results, but I think that, I think they're going to probably play pretty hard here. I don't think they're just going to not show up for this game. Can they beat Missouri? Probably not, realistically. But, I think that from a PR standpoint, this is not the worst situation for Arkansas, and I think that this Missouri game is a big chance for them to earn some more fans back, I guess.
Yeah, and I would think the players are going to give everything they've got in this last game, especially with Sam Pittman and how everything was mentioned. Changing gears real quick, Andrew, we've got just a couple minutes left, but you were there on Friday for the UNC Greensboro game. What the hell happened, and what are your thoughts about Arkansas's chances in the Bad Boy Mowers battle for Atlantis?
Well, it's been a few days now, so I'm not as down on their chances in the Bad Boy Mowers battle for Atlantis. But, man, the defensive issues that just keep showing up are concerning. And it's weird because, coming into the season, I don't know if I expected this team to come out of the gate playing lights-out defense. But in the exhibitions, especially in that Purdue game, they defended at such a high level where I was like, okay, this team's ahead of schedule. Maybe they're not going to have these weird lapses earlier in the season. You got an older roster, but I think this game is just proof that there is a little bit of cause for concern. And the front court, there were plenty of questions around it coming into the year, and it still is the same front court that there are questions about. Especially with Jalen Graham not healthy. But I think the guard defense really concerns me because it puts so much pressure on those guys. And Musselman's talk about how their rim protection is an issue, but I just felt like you watch those two offenses operate on Friday. And it seemed like Greensboro could get to the rim at will. They could get by their guy. They could straight line drive and get open looks or kick it out for open threes. It just felt like they were getting all the looks that they wanted to get. And, Arkansas offensively still has such a high floor. I mean, they went, 1 for whatever or 4 for 20 from 3 or whatever, but they're not going to have many nights where they just shoot that poorly. I feel like Arkansas's floor is still pretty high offensively, but you saw that defense is still a little bit of an issue. And so I guess there's a little bit more pressure on this offense than we thought there would be this time of year. But I think that, that first game against Stanford is a perfect opportunity because it's an opponent that is a legitimate opponent that Arkansas can't just look past, but it's one that they should handle. And so it's a nice opportunity for a bounce back performance. So I think they'll play well in that first game, and we'll see how much progress they've made in a week on the defensive end.
All right, Andrew. Appreciate you, brother.
Absolutely, man. Appreciate you.
All right. Have a happy Thanksgiving. All right, everybody. That's Andrew Ellis. Again, you can follow him at Andrew Ellis 24/7. He does a little bit of everything, football, basketball, baseball, and just does a great job for us over at HawgSports.com. All right. Hey, one more time I want to mention, if you're interested in getting better internet service, or maybe you don't have internet service, I have tried 3 other ones up here in Northwest Arkansas in Fayetteville since I've been here, and Ozarks Go is easily my favorite. I was super excited when they reached out about sponsoring the show because it is a company that I believe in. It was already using their service before they reached out to me. And if you're interested in trying them out, if you like having 100% uptime, if you would prefer not to unplug and replug your router, get in an argument with your wife or your kids about, Dad, my show's off, I can't get my phone on, or somebody's bandwidth, you have a guest come over and there's not enough bandwidth for them to get their phone on, all kinds of issues like that. If you want that to be behind you, that's been my experience with Ozarks Go. OzarksGo.net/hog, that's HAWG. You add that /hog so they know that you came from here. You can reach them at 479-684-4900, and you'll talk to somebody local. Several different tiers. I use the multi-gig. Before that, I used Gigabit. I think Gigabit is great for most families. If you're somebody who uses a ton of internet like I do, then the multi-gig might be the right one for you. They offer several different tiers. They're not going to jack your rate up in year 2 after like hooking you in with a low rate and then jacking you up, like which everybody does. Ozarks Go does not do that. Check them out at ozarksgo.net/HAWG, 479-684-4900. We have to have Keith Grayson on the show. Like, we went all season without having Keith Grayson on the show. And then we had him for the Florida game, and Arkansas won. And then we didn't have him the next week, and then we brought him in for the FIU game, and Arkansas won. So we have to have Keith Grayson on because everybody knows that I'm superstitious. So for Arkansas to have a chance, Keith Grayson has to be on the show. Keith, thank you for moving your entire day around so you could come on this show, and I apologize for having you on so late. You were planning on ripping into me right out of the gate, weren't you? And then I did a heartfelt apology.
Yeah, some of us have to work for a living. We don't get to mess around on the internet all day and record ourselves talking into a camera for a job.
That's right. I mean, you nailed it. Hey, Keith, let's jump right into it, man. Obviously the big announcement yesterday with Hunter Yurachek and announcing that Sam Pitman will be around next year. And then I thought it was interesting, some of the comments Sam Pitman made today about feeling really good about the situation with NIL, which to me sounds like we're going to have a fun offseason. What are your thoughts on all that?
Well, my first thought is, how do you think he was going to answer the question that you posed to him where you said, would you rather be fired or invest in the NIL?
I asked it wrong. I meant to ask, like, do you think that's what they were thinking? Like, I don't know. I just wanted to ask the question in a way that I don't know. My wheels were turning, when I was trying to get it out. So it wasn't framed very well. And I actually approached him about it afterwards. Like, I don't know what that question was, but it sounds like you're happy about having more NIL. And he said,
"Did he look at you the same way that he looked at you when you were answering the question or asking the question? Like he's about to have a stroke."
He just said, "Damn right," as he walked off the stage.
All right. Well,
I'm not perfect. I mean, I do the best I can. I fire off a lot of questions. Sometimes they don't come out right.
I mean, I don't know what it's like to give people millions of dollars with I don't even know if you're that rich. I don't know who these people are, but what do you count as your return on your investment? Do you just flip on the TV and you say, I did that? And it's some sort of like power trip. I guess the return on your investment from, like you said, paying coaches off $25 million or in excess of and hiring new people and doing all that.
If you've got $1 billion, Keith, I mean, that's 100 million. That's 100 million times 10, right? If you got $1 billion, so what's a million?
I mean,
is that $20 to me?
Is there someone that he's talking to that has $1 billion?
I don't know. I mean, there are billionaires out there, right? Or hundreds of millionaires, I don't even know how to say that. But there's people with millions upon millions of dollars with funny money out there.
I know there's a billionaire in Mountain Home that I'm a little not far removed from, and he likes the Razorbacks and goes to the games, but he has like general admission type tickets. It's not like he's given a bunch of money. But anyway, I think that Pitman probably wants to invest in NIL rather than getting fired. If that answered your question. But it's one of those things, like, we can talk about it, but what if everybody else, starts investing more? You know, we don't move up in the rankings. Who knows what it's going to look like? I mean, the proof is going to be in the signings.
There are six billionaires in Arkansas, by the way.
All right. Well, and they're having a hard time finding somebody to get the naming rights to the stadium. That doesn't sound that expensive to me.
What is the cost for naming rights?
I think he said $3.5 to $4 million over. I think he said a 15-year period. I don't know if that was per year.
Yeah, it's every year.
And then he said it would be substantially less for a personal. That was for a corporation, and it would be substantially less. I'm thinking maybe $1 million a year for a family name. So. Yeah, if I hit Powerball, I'm probably not going to give to NIL. I'm probably going to put my name on the stadium. Go Keith Grayson up there.
That would be awesome. You know what has a nice ring to it? The Jerry and Gene Jones family Razorback Stadium.
Yeah, Frank Boyle's Field. It's a mouthful.
At Frank Boyle's Field, yeah. However much, if you can make $30 million off naming rights and stuff, that'd be a nice little cash boost. But that'd be interesting to follow. So I guess it just ends at the end of the year, or when does that change? You sound like you know.
No, I just heard Hunter mention it in a little blurb.
Yeah. So you think Sam Pittman can get this thing turned around, starting with Friday's game against Missouri?
Oh, I don't have any feel for the Mizzou game. It feels like every time the ball bounces, it's in their direction.
It's been that kind of year for him.
It's those things don't change. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're having that kind of luck, it goes through up into the bowl game probably. And they have one of those teams that we had during the COVID year, or I guess after the COVID year, that's chock full of seniors. So we'll see what they look like next year. I don't have a feel for that game, but if we cover somehow, as far as this season goes, the Hogs are 6-6 against the spread. So if they cover the 7.5, not that anybody's paying attention, but moving forward, as long as he doesn't get Enost again, this is the most critical hire of his career. It's he cannot screw the OC job up. There's no way. I think logically you probably look at the Enos hire as saying, it was a comfortability thing, and he wanted to get a good quarterback trainer, to get KJ right. And I think that was probably the mindset. He probably didn't think that he had to do anything crazy schematically. And that they wanted to attack these tight front defenses with 12 personnel and get more tight ends on the field, and then they all start falling on the wayside and get injured. I think that was the mindset. And then, of course, everybody's moving back to 4 down and even fronts in the SEC. So it doesn't really matter about that. Now you want to spread them out again. So there's an ebb and flow to offensive strategy against the defense that these guys are putting together. But we're Where's the hot board? We don't have a hot board up yet, Trey?
For offensive coordinator, I've been working on it. I've got a good list of names. I'm not ready to put it all out, but I've been working on it. It's been a priority to get done. So Alice Walton's worth $60.6 billion. Janelle Hunt.
She cares more about
the arts,
dead painters and sculptors than she does about Razorback football.
Yeah, but she's got all that squared away pretty well. Janelle Hunt's worth $4.5 billion, and John Tyson is worth $2.3 billion. I don't know about your Mountain Home guy.
You know the company that calls and asks if you would like a car warranty, repair warranty? That's the Mountain Home guy.
Okay, got you.
Anyway, yeah, I don't think he's going to take a flyer on a Brendan Marion or steal.
Man, I like Brendan Marion, and I tell you what, he's one guy I have on my search list. For those who don't know, he's one of the innovators of the go-go offense. He's at UNLV, so he'd be stealing him away from his buddy Barry Odom if he took him. But that guy's intriguing to me.
Yeah.
We had him on the last hot board.
He runs a really cool up-tempo offense with two backs on one side of the quarterback, and a lot of motions and more of a triple option element. It's got you can do it with a running quarterback where you don't have to. Ken Dorsey is probably Pittman's first choice. However, you know, there's some stuff from the Bills that it was too complicated and for what they were doing on the tempo. And
it worked for him last year. And then they exploded like the first couple of games, and then they just kind of went downhill, and he was fired. But they had a really good start to the season. They had a good last year. So
one that I would – and again, it's very hard. I guess my point is the position he is in on this hire, and as you would call him a lame duck coach, I think all coaches outside the top 30 are lame ducks because anybody could get fired at any point. There's no stability in coaching.
It's a great point.
It's what is the buyout? All right, if it doesn't work, you're going to pay me $3 million not to coach? Cool. Like it doesn't – I don't think coaches even care because being fired is a part of the job. So it's who are you going to get? I don't think he can do an up-and-comer like – Alex Mortensen, who's at UAB. I don't know if he can reach out to somebody like that. It's got to be somebody established, and then that narrows it down even further. I have no idea. I know everybody automatically thinks that he's like best friends with Jim Chaney, but that he's not doing that. Yeah, I think he knows the optics of that.
There's no way he's going to bring Jim Chaney in.
No.
Zero chance.
That's a zero. Please don't put that on the board. I'll start a third riot of the day.
All right, Keith, what's your favorite Thanksgiving food?
We do honey baked ham. Although I got the green egg. I did a smoked turkey last year that was really good.
Oh, you're a green egg guy.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to do that again.
You could make your whole Thanksgiving meal on a green egg.
I'm not a big eater. I just tend to take like brown liquor to the face on the holidays a little bit. So hence the screen name on my HawgSports membership. It's whiskey drunk.
Yeah.
So yeah, booze. That's my favorite Thanksgiving. Especially, got things to celebrate, got football to be miserable over. I'm looking forward to another year. Hopefully, the good thing about the Razorbacks is that it's going to be the opposite of whatever we think. So I know you were pumping national championships going into this season.
I was
telling everybody that would listen, we're going undefeated. KJ's going to win the Heisman.
Hey, I was wrong on a lot of things. I wasn't that wrong.
Now everybody thinks we're going 3-9 next year, and watch us flip the script a little bit. I think that's probably what's going to happen. But I got a proposal. If we do beat Missouri, and it's because I'm on the show, I should be a co-host for every week during the football season next week. Even though, you got to admit, the show was my idea to begin with.
Yeah, okay. It was your idea.
We did the first show together, you and Danny. That's the three of us combined would be far better than what you got going on right now.
You think so?
I think so, but I think a lot of myself.
Well, you do. Well, I'm open to the idea of doing more podcasts. Maybe we look at doing that. Maybe we just expand forever. Just keep adding more and more till we have a whole network. All right,
I'll do the one that's explicit.
Okay. That's just the name of it.
So I can be myself.
Explicit. That's it. I know. All right, brother. Appreciate you.
3-0, dude. Here we go.
All right, here we go.
Up on Friday.
All right, everybody. That's Keith Grayson. Later, buddy. That's Keith Grayson again. 3-0 on the show this year. We had him on a lot last year. I don't know what our record was with him last year, but that's something to possibly look at. But he is 2-0 right now and hoping to go 3-0 for the times he's on the show. All right, everybody. I hope everybody has a great Thanksgiving. Go to HawgSports.com for all of our content this week leading up to the Arkansas-Missouri game, of course. The battle for Atlantis. We'll have a ton of content from that. You want to go check out that from Curtis Wilkerson. Transfer stuff's starting to happen already. Recruiting stuff, obviously. A lot of stuff opening up. So go sign up for us at HawgSports.com. Again, it breaks down to $26.85 for the entire year. Just go to join. There's no promo code or anything required. Go to HAWGsports.com, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. 7 cents a day, 52 cents a week, $224 a month. What else can you get that you can get value from and entertainment from all day long for 7 cents? I'd love to hear in the comments below what are these things that you can get enjoyment from all day, from our Razor's Edge Premium Forum, all the content that we provide, our crystal ball features, all the recruiting information. Just a lot of great stuff at Hog Sports. $26.85 for the whole year, breaks down to 7 cents a day, 52 cents a week, $224 a month, 75% off at HawgSports.com. This is our Black Friday, Cyber Monday sale, so I assume it ends sometime next week. I can't remember exactly, but all right, everybody. I want to thank Keith Grayson for hopping on with us, Andrew Ellis for hopping on, Danny West. We've had a full show today. Didn't get to any questions, but I guess we will next week. There's no show on Thursday. Obviously, it's Thanksgiving. So this is your Missouri primer. This is your reaction to Sam Pittman being retained, all of those things. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining me. This has been Trey Biddy with HawgSports.com, and we'll catch you next time.